Hey guys,
I'm Jerry.
I'm Sierra.
We're ladies.
And we tangent.
Why did I almost do the ladies after dark one?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Where are we? What is this?
What's up, everyone? Hello.
This is Ladies and Tangents, and that's what I know.
That is what it is.
The regular episode.
I literally said to my therapist yesterday, it is what it is, and what it is sucks.
Yeah.
She was like, word.
Did I send it? Oh, yeah. I sent you something. Me and you were having a real heart-to-heart, and you sent me this, like, big, long thing, and I was like, damn, that's what's up.
That is what you said.
And then immediately I was like, I'm sorry. I realize now that feels like it needed more, but that's what's up really felt like.
That was the response.
Because that is what's up. But as soon as I reread it back to myself, you like, I said this big emotional thing, and I was like, damn, that's what's up.
What the fuck was I talking about? Because we don't often get emotional.
No, it was about an older episode we were talking through.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, I talked to Kay about that as well.
Yeah, did you?
Yeah.
When you were like, wow, I'm having all these realizations, and I was like, baby, rewatch that and watch me. Watch me.
I know.
I was having those in real time and trying to be like, well, how do I navigate this?
Because last week we did the Do You Stand By That episode?
Yeah.
And I think now that we've done that episode, people have a better idea of what to send in. And so I think we could do it again in the future.
Yeah, totally.
But I then became hyper aware of like everything I've ever said. And so I started watching older episodes. Mm-hmm. And I also wanted to find a clip of me talking about turning 33. And so that's why I was watching older episodes. And I thought we talked a lot about how I was trying to manage different relationships in my life. And I thought I was doing a lot better job of hiding certain things than I really was.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, well.
I was just publicly gaslighting myself is what I was doing.
Yeah, and I knew you were, but I didn't know how to call you out without airing all your shit out. So I was like, how do I navigate this?
Well, that's what I said to Kay. I was like, I think what was in my mind is if I said this out loud, then it would almost be like hiding in plain sight, where it's like, well, that can't actually be as bad as what she's saying, because then she wouldn't talk about it. So
it must be just silly goofy.
It just must be
real.
She said it's just in her head. She said she's just overthinking.
Yeah.
So then that's not real stuff. But
turns out
she goes, well, wait a minute. Did you just tell me that you talked about it in 2022 and then in 2023 and now it's still resonating in 2024? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, so you still think it's in your head? And I'm like, no.
I think it was probably a pattern.
I think it was just in my life.
And what a fucking segue into what we're going to talk about today. But we can do some more chit chat. But if you don't know, we're going to talk a bit about I wouldn't say this is like a super, super heavier one.
It's not light.
It's not light. But it turns out, I think you're going to resonate with, this is going to be another episode where, you might be able to say, oh, this happened to me in a past life, but there's also a good chance that you've done it. Mm-hmm. All of us. Mm-hmm. So just keep that in mind. Don't get super defensive. There is a lot of talk on these websites pertaining to narcissists and narcissistic personality disorder inside of a relationship. If you do these things, this is not me fucking calling you a narcissist. Yeah. Please take everything here with a grain of salt that we're going to talk about. Because number one, I'm not a psychologist.
Yeah.
I just play one on TV. And in my everyday life.
How about my mom and I were talking about narcissism?
Yeah.
And she was like, I think that, there's a little bit of narcissist in all of us. And I was like, I said, well, I mean, I think that everyone
it is
can
true
have
that you
narcissistic
have personality traits.
Yeah, I said, I literally sit on a couch and record myself and think people actually want to hear me talk. There's no way that I don't have some kind of a tendency like that right there.
Sure. And not all narcissism is bad.
Yes.
That's
yes.
Yeah.
The narcissist.
Okay. Two narcissists sitting on the couch. Two narcissists, one couch.
Oh my God. Imagine what that podcast would be like.
I think maybe just this. I'm just kidding.
According to certain people in my life.
According to certain people, yes. But the reason too is I think it also has a lot. People with ADHD autism, any kind of like neurodivergence like that as well, I think can relate to potentially doing what I'm about to talk about and not realizing it. So there's two different things. There's like someone who's doing it in an attempt to manipulate to get a certain something, and then there's people that do it that I think maybe don't realize that what they're doing could be harmful. That's what I want to focus on today. Yeah. Because I think it's really important that we all take a step back sometimes in our own life and just evaluate. Reflect. Yeah. Maybe what I'm doing here isn't like the healthiest, and maybe it'll be. And I didn't know about this until you brought it up to me.
Yeah, because I talked about it in therapy. I have been really loving going to therapy again, and I'm going on it more frequently than I was in the past year.
I think right now that's probably best.
That is probably best. And also I'm being more
transparent.
It's not that I was never not honest.
No, but you weren't giving the whole story.
If you go back to Imposter Syndrome 1.0, I remember saying the whole reason I wanted to re-record that episode is because I felt like I would give a little bit to make people think I was giving enough to be vulnerable, but really I was still hiding. I continued to do that. Yeah. With certain things in my life. And I think that that's not necessarily a bad thing all the time. I think that like...
No, there's a time and a place.
In certain situations. And that was something that Barbara and I talked about is like, hey, you can be an open book, but that book can be a journal and you don't have to share every page.
Bingo.
And...
That's why when people are like, do you stand by still being private? I do want to keep more aspects of my personal life private, only because I think especially with your whole situation, we were realizing now that there's like people who... And not even being malicious, just feel like owed to information.
I found out people
speculating, and
I found out people are looking at my divorce documents.
Yeah, it's gross.
And that's
what I'm saying.
That I know that it's public record. I know people can do that, but it does just feel
invasive.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, I've done it. Yeah, I've looked up people's stuff on the internet. I mean, it is public record, so you can access it. But when you're the one who's being accessed and you know that you're being accessed.
Well, so that's when people were sending our addresses to us and being like, just so you know, I found where you live and here's where your kids go to school. And I was like, I understand you're coming at it from a place of, but that was shocking because at the time, I don't know how to get that off.
You can't.
The internet. And now I'm just hyper aware that anyone who wants to do harm to me could have access to me. And that is like, for my anxiety, not something that is great. And that
it's a weird feeling because I have nothing to hide. I'm not ashamed of what's there.
And I don't think there is. I don't think you or I are, but it's also like we do deserve a bit of privacy. Yeah. I'm not going to come on here and show my asshole to the internet.
I think it's a respect thing a little bit.
Yeah.
And to me, that's why it's like, I feel differently about people like talking about it and like kind of having conversations around it because again, I did put my life online, but seeking out that kind of information just feels like crossing a line.
Sure.
That makes me feel like less of a human.
That it's almost like we're in a zoo.
Yeah.
Makes me feel like I'm on display in a weird way that like, yeah, I'm giving you access, but that doesn't mean if I come out, okay, here's my thought. If I'm a model and I'm on a runway and I'm like, look at me in my runway stuff. And then you see me out and you start ripping my clothes off because you're like, well, I saw you in a bikini on the runway.
Or searching for my nudes.
Yeah. I don't understand. Why can't I see everything? You showed me the bikini on the runway. Well, I'm having dinner with my family. Yeah. Maybe you don't need to see me in my bikini right now. You know what I'm saying? Something
I'm not
like
working.
That.
I don't come to your house and demand an insurance adjustment when you are taking a bubble bath.
Yeah. And also just like respect that I'm a person. How would you feel if people did that to you?
It's weird. It's real weird.
Yeah.
But when I was in therapy with Kay, she was asking me certain questions because I spend a lot of time in my head. And whenever I make a decision, and I've said this before, that I always think everything through, that I don't move in any way, shape, or form until I have thought every single piece out.
Right.
But even after I've done that and I make a decision and I move forward, I still look back and I'm like, was that the right thing? Did I have the correct information? Did I think all of these things through. Was there a different angle that I missed? And she asks me questions that are very matter of fact.
Mm-hmm.
Like, was this a pattern prior?
Right.
Was this a new thing that started happening? Can you think of any other times in your life where this was an occurrence that you can pull from? Almost just saying, like, you have the validation.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to allow yourself to recall it.
Yes.
And one of the things that came up was future faking.
Yes.
Which is one of the things we're talking about.
So you brought that up to me and just said that, and then I deep dived into it, and I was like, oh, I don't know how deep you guys got into it.
Kay had never even heard the term before. This is another situation where it's like cognitive dissonance, where it's like it's used a lot on the internet, and people kind of...
Well, it's also not a real It's not a real psychology term, by the way. So this is just kind of like a slang term.
Yeah.
There is no like real evidence backing. So what I'm going to read... I'm going to go from a couple different articles, but basically just know this is not like scientifically backed.
No.
But it is a pattern that a lot of people who are in these relationships have.
Which I think is kind of like how gaslighting kind of started too.
Exactly. Yes.
So I think these terms catch fire online and are perpetuated to a point where maybe at some point someone in the actual field will do a scientific study on it.
Yeah.
But until then, I think it's important to kind of have more context when you're either hearing these words so you don't fill in blanks incorrectly.
Right.
Or you're not using it incorrectly.
Right.
Yeah.
Or like weaponizing it.
Yes.
Please don't fucking do that. I'm actually begging. Please don't do that with this, because I hate when I do this and then I hear that that's been weaponized and I'm like, it's not what I wanted.
Yeah.
I just want people to be able to recognize it, make your own choice if it's toxic, and decide what you're going to do with your future based on that. And then make sure you don't do it to other people if you are and you don't mean to. So I'm going to start with this. It's a ThriveWorks article. There we go. Article written by Alexandra Cromer, LPC, edited by Jason Crosby, medically reviewed by Kate Hanselman, PM, HN, PBC, whatever the fuck those mean.
Holy hell, that's a lot of letters. If you know what they're for, put them in the comments below.
So I'm going to start out reading this verbatim. So it says, picture this. You're on the perfect first date. The charming stranger sitting across from you orders you both another glass of wine with a wry grin. And as the waiter walks towards...
What?
Wry grin.
Wry grin. I heard rye, but I thought you were saying wide. And I was like, ride grin? You want me to ride that grin, brother? Into the sunset, I will. Give me another glass of wine. Sorry.
As the waiter walks towards the bar, he starts weaving together a dreamlike description of the life you both might have together. You're embarrassed at first. It's almost too cheesy to take seriously. But then you start hearing about an idyllic house in the countryside that you'll purchase together, 2 small children, your own art studio in the spare room. Somehow this handsome stranger from a dating app has checked off every single box you have over the course of a single dinner. So, for some individuals, spinning fantasies like this is a tactic called future faking, and it's a powerful way to ensure that you remain spellbound and under their control. But despite all the manipulation and deception, people with narcissistic personality disorder or even narcissistic traits have highly sympathizable reasons for this behavior that arises from low self-esteem and fear. So often what this article is saying specifically is that this is done by people with narcissistic personality disorder because they are so fucking afraid of losing the person because of their deep low self-esteem. And this is a way to spin a future to this person that is so romanticized and idyllic that that person kind of is like enthralled by it. But in the back of their mind, they have no plan or no really like
intent
on carrying it out.
Yeah.
It's just like, I want you to believe this is what you're going to have. And I want you to believe that I'm the one that can give it to you.
Yeah.
So, how can you be sure you'll recognize future faking when it's happening to you? Also, again, am I plagiarizing this? I'm just reading an article to my friend. This is not my research that I've done. I need you to all know that because there is no research to be done because it's not a real term, really. Anyways, how can you recognize when it's happening to you? This is often the most important but hardest step of understanding. Okay? So let's just talk about what the term actually means. Future faking is a slang term for behaviors that are typically used by people with narcissistic personality disorder who want to manipulate someone else by constantly and convincingly showering them with love, overwhelming them with affection, casting romantic promises of a grand future together. So it's very love bombing, but in a way that also is like kind of specifically set towards what that person wants in life.
Yeah.
Anything that you want to say on it, or?
I have a lot of things happening in my head, and I'm going to be 100% honest when I say I'm trying not to cry.
Yeah.
And part of me feels like I'm thinking about my grandma right now when I was in the kitchen with her, and she said, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Right.
And for most of my life, I've not been very good at that.
Yeah.
I've often said stuff I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
And right now, as you're reading that, I feel so stupid because I know what it is.
Yeah.
I know what it is. But I don't feel like I can give anything.
Right.
Because a lot of the times when I talk about stuff in my life, I am just vague enough. And you may not be able to tell if I'm talking about a coworker, a relationship, a parent, a sibling. Right now, I feel like I don't even have the ability to hide this and speak about it in a way where I can code it in a way. But I knew this was the topic, and I want to talk about this. I don't know. It's a really weird feeling that's happening in my head, and it's almost like I have the urge to speak, and then it's a muzzle, and I think that is telling of the space that I've been in for quite some time. Is when it comes to a very specific part of my life, muzzle. Right. Muzzled. And so now you're like, anything? And I'm like, tons. Yeah. But it's locked behind. Yeah. It's locked behind a door. But
also, I want to say, I would not have made this the topic had you not also told me about it. So I don't want anyone to hear this and be like, oh, why would Sierra even make her talk about this then?
No, I okayed it.
Because I was like, this is not my idea. Yeah.
I suggested it. I okayed it. I think that it's very normal. And this is something I talked to Kay about yesterday too, is I think one day that I'm in one place mentally, and then I go back to I'm all over the board.
Probably it's a grief cycle.
It's a grief cycle, but I am in a place of denial half the time with my grief cycle that there is a grief cycle.
Yeah, I know. I've noticed that.
It's
that's part of it, though.
So fucking weird.
That is part of it. That is part of the cycle.
What I'll say, and this is what I said to Kay yesterday too, is thank you, Taylor Swift, for your album. Because there's a line, and I think Love of My Life, where she says, I can't get out of bed because something counterfeits dead. And that put words to a very bizarre feeling that I have right now, where it's like, I can get out of bed, I can function, but just the heaviness of an emotion over something that wasn't real.
That's why I think future faking can be so upsetting. Yes. Because it's essentially a lie that was spun to you, that even then when you lose it, even though logistically, like, not logistically, logically, that's the word I was looking for. Logically,
logicalistically,
you can look at it and know, especially towards the end of a relationship. And by the way, this can be done with parents. I will speak on my own that this was done by an adult in my life, like a lot. So I will speak on that a bit, but it's pretty much, it can be done to anybody. It does happen a lot more so in romantic relationships.
And you know what? Actually, if I'm going to completely spin this in a way that has nothing to do with me, I think this is also what MLMs are built on.
This compares it to MLMs. Yeah. It's
oh my God, you know what just happened in my brain? It was like, here's an out.
Yeah.
Here's something that's so far removed from you that you can actually connect it to. Go this way.
There is a part in this that now I'm switching to another article. This is a men's health article, which, by the way, I do want to say this also happens to men. And I think that it's important we capitalize on that, whether it's happening to men by women or by other men that they're with.
Yes.
June, as much as it is Pride Month, and fuck yeah, it is also Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, and I want to highlight that because I don't think it gets talked about enough. I think that that's a patriarchy thing where men are not supposed to talk about their emotions. They're not supposed to, it's seen as weakness, it's seen as feminine, and that's bad. But this can happen to you, and if it does, I want you to know that you're not weak for pointing it out, and you're not weak for feeling the way that you right now are saying you're feeling about it, because it can do that to anybody.
Yeah, because you almost feel silly. You almost feel silly for being upset about something that wasn't real in the first place.
Yeah. It's almost like, oh, okay, well, it was a fantasy anyways, but it's not presented to you as a fantasy, and I think that's the part that gets people.
Yeah.
This part says it's from this is actually from somebody at ThriveWorks, which is funny because that's the other article website that I was reading. But
they're like, we here at ThriveWorks need you guys to know
about fucking future faking. So this is Karen Kay's, and she says, Karen Kay's LMFT licensed something therapy, I think. It says, quote, future faking is a bonding technique used a lot in romantic relationships where a detailed vision of the future is outlined in order to expedite connection. That is the biggest part.
Yeah.
And that's where I think you and I can probably relate, that I've accidentally done it. And I think people with ADHD and things, I'm a daydreamer. I love to fantasize about things.
I was just going to talk about that.
Yeah. So I don't want anyone to feel a certain type of way, because when I was reading this, I remembered, I actually had like a very jarring memory of me saying to Corey, like, what's our house going to be like when we move in together? Like when we buy a house, and let's talk about, are we going to have kids? And let's talk about our wedding. This was like 6-7 months in at that point. Not quite at the year mark, but close. And I remember Corey being like, whoa, I don't want to, why are we talking about that? Like, let's slow down. Let's enjoy where we're at now. And I was like, you don't want a future with me? And he's like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, why are we talking about that? That's not where we're at now. Let's enjoy the present. And to me, that was such a gut punch. I was like, this man doesn't want to be with me.
Yeah.
He's wasting my time. And I think to him, he was just like, why are we rushing?
Yeah.
There's no reason. I already know I'm going to be with you forever. So it's not like, but for people, and this is why I said people with neurodivergence, talking about those things can give you a dopamine hit that it's very similar to when I would say, I stopped telling people about things I was going to do, projects I was working on, things like that, because I was getting into a cycle of telling people, hey, I'm working on this thing. They would be like, that's incredible. Oh my God, that's amazing. Ask me about it. I'd tell them about it, like what I had planned for it. And that would give me enough of the dopamine hit that I wanted from it that I'd be like, I did it. And then I would stop working on it because that fear of failure then would creep in. So I think it's very similar to that, where if you talk about the future and all the things that you can have and the way you're going to do it in your wedding and all of the things really early, it could give you that dopamine rush that you know it's going to come. But it's also like, why am I rushing to that point?
Yeah.
I know it will happen, but also I don't want it. His point when he would tell me is, I don't want it to, like,
I don't want to miss
be,
right now.
Yeah, and to almost, when we get to that moment, be like, oh, we talked it up so much and now it's here and then it's gone, and what do we have to look forward to?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Instead of, if you look at everything as they're happening, there's always something to look forward to.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say that part, because I saw myself a lot in this early part.
And I want to say, the type of person that I am is I hear these things and I automatically assume I'm guilty of them, and then almost try to like find instances to make myself guilty.
Yeah.
But if I'm being honest with myself, I'm a daydreamer. I remember being back in college and my best friend Thayer, like we would sit there and we would daydream. That was like a fun thing for us to do, because even though we knew where we were in that moment. Yeah. Like, okay, we physically can't do any of these things because we have no money and we have to finish school and we don't have all of the stuff necessary in order to make these happen. Mm-hmm. But right now, if I'm going to look back, all of the things that I sat there and said, I'm going to have this. Yeah. I'm going to do this. It started as a daydream, but I'm the kind of person who puts action behind those things in order for them to come to fruition. Yeah. And so when other people daydream with me, I don't think of it as a
fake.
Yes, because I know that if I'm going to daydream about something, I don't talk about going to Paris. I don't talk about going to Australia. I don't talk about skydiving, because I know I'm not going to do shit to do those things. Yeah. If you ask me, would you ever do it? That's different. You know what I mean? Would you ever go to Australia? Sure, I'd go to Australia. Right. But I'm not sitting here daydreaming about what I'd do there because I have no intention on doing it. Right. And so for anyone who, I just wanted to bring in that other side of it, because daydreaming isn't bad.
No, and I'm not saying it is.
Right.
I'm saying the point where it can be bad is if you're doing it super early on in a relationship to kind of like expedite that connection. To
expedite the connection, or to shut someone up.
You think? Yeah.
I think it's almost
This isn't what it says in this, but
I almost think, and this is my interpretation of future faking, I almost think future faking can be used to shut somebody up. Yeah. Be like, you know what? I don't actually have to do anything right now if they think I will in the future. Right. And so I will present what will happen so that nothing has to happen right now. Yeah. Because everything I'm speaking about will. Right. I didn't say right now. I said in the future. Right. Do you know what I mean? Right. So I think obviously it can really make someone feel connected. Right. But if you're someone who already feels like you're in a hole, it can almost keep you from getting yourself out of the hole.
Yeah, there is a little bit about that, I think, down here. I'm going to keep going in this article. It says, future faking may include wanting to have a family with you someday. They may say things about wanting to get married someday, buying a house together, envisioning your wedding. And the trouble with that is there's no actual planning. Yeah. There's no effort behind it. Narcissists appear charming at first, feeding off of compliments, center conversations and situations around their needs, and gaslight. So telling someone what they want to hear and hooking them with promises can lure the people in.
Or keep, and that's why I mean, or keep them where they're at.
Sure. But over time, narcissists will typically turn cold or start acting indifferent to someone else's feelings, or even ignore and devalue them. So basically, anybody who does future faking and does it in a malicious way, they're really good at figuring out what the other person wants and then promising them that exactly. This says, quote, it's often part of the mirroring process where they listen to you and work out what makes you tick, which is the perfect tool to future fake from. So some examples would be, quote, I can see us settling down together, having 2 kids, being so happy, living in the countryside. Quote, I want to travel the world together. Quote, I want to take care of you so you'll never have to work again. Quote, let's save up and buy a home together, with no actual action behind saving up to do those things. You know what I mean? But these comments might be made on a first date when you don't know each other that well, or in the first like couple months of dating when the dating is happening. And so it can almost be so jarring, but feels so good that you get a rush from it. Future fakers reassure you. They tell you about the income potential they're going to have one day, or they're making more than enough money to take care of you. And this could then potentially lead you to feel secure in leaving a job or moving to a new place to be with them. You might end up being isolated from other people, and then you become totally dependent on that person, which is kind of what they wanted in the first place, because if you are totally dependent, it is very, very hard for you to leave once things get shitty. And that's when things do get shitty. Speaking from experience. So basically, they might use this as a way to manipulate the relationship, because any sense of abandonment, large or small, they will see as a very severe, life-altering event. And also, they're very sensitive to criticism. So they will go to extreme lengths to avoid rejection and abandonment at all costs. And this can be a tactic used to avoid being alone, because ultimately being alone is like the worst thing.
Yes.
They don't want that.
Yes.
They cannot handle it. Also, Kays points out that, quote, future faking can be both intentional and unintentional, like I said. So people are complex, inherently making their relationships complex. And so it's not always done in a malicious way. So please don't think that it is.
I think a lot of times it's unintentional. I think it's
I don't know a lot of relationships where I didn't do that in the beginning. It feels so good.
It feels so normal
to do it when you feel like this is someone you could see your life with.
Yeah.
But I can see then Corey was like, well, I don't want to do this. And when he explained it to me as like it's almost spoiling the, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Or it's bigging it up in a way
it's
that
reading the end of the book before you get to.
Literally, you're going to literally read the last chapter of the book, and you didn't even open the rest of it, and then you're like, well, I'm confused about what happened, but I've spoiled it already for myself.
Or
you know
I'm angry about how we're getting to the end, because I already assumed I knew how we were going to get there.
So he's like, just take it day by day. It doesn't have to be this grandiose, like, and mine was not grandiose. Genuinely, mine was like, I want to live together and have a kid with you and get married. And he was like, let's pump the brakes.
And the thing is, I think that in certain circumstances, it is okay to look ahead and to plan and to talk about those things. But I think you have to be very careful about who you're doing it with.
Well, that's hard, because you don't know that a person is a person until they show themselves.
Because like I said, I'm the kind of person who is, if you and I are going to sit down and talk about doing something,
right?
I'm going to do all I fucking can to make it happen. I'm not just going to sit here and bullshit you.
No, we didn't do that.
We sat down on I remember we sat at my kitchen table. Ollie was in his little stander and he was just shaking his little legs, goo goo gaga. And we just started recording ourselves talking to see if we could speak together for an extended amount of time. And after we were done, we sat there and I said, what if someday we actually like make money from this?
Yeah.
Could you imagine? You're like, absolutely the fuck not.
I didn't even want to do it. I was like, I'm not even thinking about that, because that can't even be a thought in my mind.
But I when I say that wasn't like trying to convince you to do it with me.
No, I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why I'm bringing up the fact that like this can exist without the ill intent or the manipulation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's so about the other person, though. Yes. It is all about the other person. So that's what I need you to know, too, is that I just want people to be aware when they're doing it, and then maybe have that conversation with that person. Like, I think that's important. And I think sometimes that other person might not know that you're spinning them this idea until you like ask them, like, hey, am I doing too much in this? Have a conversation around future faking even with them, and then be like, do you think that's what I'm doing? I think that's healthy to talk about.
Yeah, or be like, so hey, I know we talked about XYZ. How are we going to get there?
Yes.
What's the
plan?
What's the plan? And if that can't be answered,
that's red flag. The reason for future faking, though, if it is done maliciously and intentionally, is to protect the ego and to avoid any real or perceived abandonment.
Got a big ego.
People who engage in future faking to gain or maintain control of the person to prevent them from XYZ, do it in this way. Thinking of alternative future plans that don't involve the future faker, right? So they don't want you to even have a thought in your mind of being able to do something that doesn't involve them.
And I can promise you when you do, it's meltdown city.
Yeah. Yeah. That's yeah. Yeah. Having any original thoughts that might cause them to question the other person's words or motivation.
Any independence you might have.
Considering other partners or having to consider the possibility of being rejected. So all of those things, and like, yeah, what you just said, it kind of hits on it. If like there's a jealousy aspect that's like really, really intense, that's another big red flag. Like a big red flag.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like a certain level of like kind of jealousy that's like, I think normal to human.
Yes.
Whatever. But like if there's an extreme jealousy to the point of it's like, you're going to leave me and I know you're going to leave me. And anytime you talk to somebody now, I'm reminded that you could leave me. And that's like.
And sometimes I think that the jealousy doesn't even necessarily have to be about another romantic partner.
No, literally it can be just about living
closeness.
a life. Yes, with anybody.
Closeness to anyone else.
Living a life that doesn't involve that person being right up your ass.
Yes. Yes.
But honestly.
Yeah. A jealousy of the idea of you being able to do it without them.
Because it is literally like an independence issue.
Yeah.
I don't want you to have any independence because then you could potentially be able to daydream this other life that doesn't involve me.
And that can't happen.
That cannot happen. Because they probably know that they're a part of the problem. They just can't admit it. They cannot admit it. The ego is so large that they are not able to admit that they are the problem. But they know. Deep down, they know.
That's one thing.
But it's your fault.
It's
your fault that they know.
I say to Kay all the time, I'm like, I know that I have these issues. I know that this is an area of growth. I know I have to improve here. And like, I will highlight all of the things that I've done wrong, where I need to take accountability and how I can improve. But yet I still use those to justify people using future faking on me or limiting my growth because if I get too far, they're going to feel left behind or I am the reason that their ego feels threatened. Right. And she has to remind me constantly, that is not your problem.
No, it's not.
That is not your job.
It's literally not at all. Also, I just want to say that anything that I'm saying, don't read into it. I'm talking about my own shit. Please keep that in mind. I'm not kidding. Please, I beg of you, remember that I've dealt with somebody who did this a lot. And so while I'm talking, you don't need to spin it in any type of way. I'm telling you right now, it's about who I was in a relationship with. That's all you need to know on my end.
Same.
I just need that to be so fucking clear. So basically, these type of people will do this to avoid any perceived or real sense of rejection, as they lack coping skills to process rejection in a healthy way.
Yeah. And
that's just what it is. Genuinely, what I'm not even saying that people with narcissistic personality disorders are a lost cause. However, there needs to be like a therapy or some kind of real internal work done because it is very hard for them. They don't realize, and this is somebody that I talked to that was diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder.
Yeah.
But I do not think is a bad person.
Right.
I just need that to be clear. And they were telling me about this. They don't realize that other people don't think the way they think. That's like I think that's flabbergasted by.
I think that's everyone.
Yeah. So
when you are only in your own head and you are your only experience with thoughts are your own, I think finding out that anyone thinks any differently. That's why I ask people, when you dream, what do you see? When you think, what do you see? Is it when you have a memory, is it pictures? Is it words? Is there sound? Is it in color? Is it not? Everyone is so fucking different. But when you find out, like, that there are people who don't have an internal dialogue, that seems
jarring. Like,
insane.
What? Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so I think that, like, someone who has narcissistic personality disorder, thinking that everyone thinks the way that they do is not necessarily a characteristic of them being a narcissist thinking like they do.
No,
I think
just
that's
everybody.
an everyone thing.
Yeah, it is. It really can be. So basically, this is the part I wanted to hit on. What is future faking before a breakup? Okay. Future faking before a breakup occurs when it has been made blatantly clear to both individuals that the relationship is not working. This will also typically happen to where both parties know it's not working, but the other one is like clinging to it in a way that's like, you can't leave me. And then even though, again, I'm speaking about mine, even though they will do so many, I mean, a fucking checklist this long of shit that if I read it out loud, I'd be like, would you stay with that person? No? Okay. But like, they can't get over the fact that like, but you're supposed to love me and you're leaving me? You're the bad guy here. And it's like, in what world? I need you to just please be here with me on planet Earth.
I'm using my fucking medulla.
Please. And understand that, like, why do I have to sit here and just take your disrespect over and over and over and over and over again shoved in my face because you think, and it's always, but you're supposed to love me. Why would I love someone who did that to me?
And why would you love someone who you want to do that to?
That's what I'm saying. None of this is love. That's not what that is.
None of this is love.
That's not what love is.
None of that is love. But I think, and I'm going to throw something in there. I'm going to blame the church. And here's why.
Okay.
Because,
yeah, brother, I know where you're going.
Because of the vows, for better, for worse, in sickness and in health.
Yep.
Those two lines that are repeated at, especially the reason I bring up the church is because those are traditionally the vows that are swapped in a religious ceremony. When you say those things, you can gaslight yourself in moments where you're like, well, I guess this is the sickness.
And I guess this is the worst.
Yeah, I'm supposed to get through that then. But what if that's not the sickness and it's not the worst?
And
what if that is
thing
just the status fucking quo?
And also, I believe those vows have been broken because I didn't vow to marry this person. I don't know who this person is
I've
at
never
all.
seen this man in my life.
I didn't make vows to you, sir. I made vows to who you presented yourself to be.
That part.
And I think you broke the contract.
Yeah.
I'm not a fucking lawyer. But that's what I think. Also, what I was going to say, and I'm going to go deeper on the church thing, and I'm probably going to piss people off, and I'm sorry, but the relationship in the Bible that you're supposed to have with God when he was doing shitty things, sorry.
And you're supposed to submit to your man. They're supposed to lead you. You're supposed to bow down to their word.
Hey, God in the Bible was kind of a dick sometimes. Can I say that? I mean, I'm just being real. He tried to tell, who was it, Abraham? He was like, kill your son. Do it if you love me, kill your son. And he was like, I guess I'll do it. And he's like, brother, I was joking. Why would you kill your son? That's crazy.
Yeah.
What is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Why are you doing
Moses,
this? I just wanted to see
every animal.
I just wanted to see that you would do what I told you to do for your love for me. I needed to know your love. You needed to prove your love to me. I'm sorry. That's toxic.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to go on record right now and say that God is toxic.
No, that person, I don't know him. That's crazy behavior. That's crazy. My God doesn't do that.
That's real lowercase h of you.
I don't love it. I'm sorry if I made you mad.
That's so beta God.
But I'm sorry if that made you mad. But genuinely, if you are a full-on Christian and what I just said triggered you in some way, can you explain why you think that's okay? Because I remember hearing that for the first time and being like, are we all for real? Like hearing the same thing and we're not questioning that's crazy? Mm-hmm. Sorry, I just went off on a little bit of a, it's called Ladies and Tangents for a reason. Anyways. Any perceived change or even slight hint, blah, 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 of abandonment. Here we go, right? So.
Sorry, that line right there?
What? Blah, 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 abandonment?
No, any hint of change.
Any perceived hint of change or even the slight hint of abandonment and rejection can cause them to engage in future faking because it is like a, wait, let me get you back.
Which I think may happen if somebody starts working on themselves, if somebody starts going to therapy,
well, it's these
maybe.
grandiose promises of change now we have. I know that I did wrong. I'm taking accountability and I'm going to do better. Please stay with me because I'm going to do better. And this is what's going to happen for our future if you do stay with me. But guess what? The future continues and those things never happen. In fact, a lot of times we go back maybe worse than we were the first fucking time.
Mm-hmm.
There's always that backslide. And I think that's how you know when it's like a toxic, really bad cycle. This is all, by the way, very hand in hand with trauma bonding, love bombing, gaslighting. All of these things are manipulation tactics that go very much hand in hand in a toxic relationship / abusive relationship cycle. Mm-hmm. That should be said. Go on.
What I was going to say is I watched a movie one time where this girl started going to therapy and she was on a walk with her partner and she said, I'm afraid that I'm going to turn into someone that you don't like. Mm-hmm. And the person was like, the partner was like, that's absolutely not going to happen. There could never be a version of you that I don't adore. Mm-hmm. And then she continued going to therapy.
That's also a red flag, by the way. Hey, that statement, red fucking flag. I tell Corey all the time, I love you. There are versions of you that I will not love. And that is if you fucking disrespect me in a way like cheating on me. Mm-hmm. I will not just be like, oh, well, I love you, so we'll let it go.
That's my baby.
I'll probably still love you.
There my baby goes again. Fucking other people.
I can love you from afar, bitch. Get out of my house.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes.
Non-negotiable. You want me to kill my son to prove my love for you? You're weird for that, bro.
Non-negotiable.
No. Sorry. Anyways.
But, so in this movie that I was watching and definitely not living,
I was going to say this movie sounds familiar. I feel like I've seen this movie. I've definitely heard about it.
The lead in the movie did continue going to therapy. And guess what? Mm-hmm. The lead changed so much that the partner didn't like her anymore.
Yeah.
And didn't like how much change had occurred and how that the lead no longer was following the path that the partner
future faking
wanted them to go on. Yeah.
Because I think the lead probably saw that the path was taking them straight to Bullshitville.
That's actually what the movie's called.
I knew it.
It's called Bullshitville.
I've seen it.
I think we've all seen it.
Truly. So basically, right before a breakup, this person will realize that they're losing control of their partner or losing the relationship altogether, the relationship that they found themselves very cozy in. Mm-hmm. And so then if future faking isn't effective, they may resort to gaslighting or other acts of actual abuse, violence, things like that. Mental manipulation in a way that's... I'm not going to say that future faking, and this is what I want you to know. I said that these are all kind of an abuse whatever cycle. I'm not going to say future faking's abusive. I don't believe that it is. I just want people to know that this is it's a slippery slide down the road to
a baseball bat isn't a weapon until it's used as one.
Bingo.
That's how I view future faking.
Bingo. Yeah. So how can you tell if perhaps you are in a relationship romantically or otherwise with a future faker?
You have to have a podcast with your cousin.
and say some things and watch her go to you.
Or have her be around so much that she then bears witness to things that you were hiding.
And then she says, hey girl, let me talk to you. One-on-onesies. I think maybe I'm seeing some things that you're not seeing.
Let me tell you about this movie I watched.
It's honestly crazy.
It's called Bullshitville.
So, some key habits and behavior to look out for. Constantly telling and reinforcing the same storylines and ideas, basically with no backing.
Yeah.
With no action.
Follow through.
Plan. I said this before and I'll say it again. Words without action behind them, promises of change without action behind them is just manipulation. That's it.
Speak on it.
Bingo. You're just saying the words, but there's no action behind that change. It's manipulation. Red fucking flag. Look out for that always. They can say those words as much as they want. They can say they're sorry. They can say they're going to change. If there is no action behind it, and I mean immediate fucking action that lasts, not I got a therapist the next day and I went 2 times and then I decided I'm better and I don't like it anymore and so I'm done. No.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
It has to last and it has to be real efforts at change. Anyways, sorry. Let me get off my fucking high horse for a minute.
Listen. I think that I was wise beyond my years as a teenager because there was a song by
Britney Spears that said, "Oops, I did it again to your heart."
No.
Just
no.
kidding.
I was going to say Lord Gavin DeGraw.
Okay.
That's called Follow Through.
Okay.
And the lyrics are,
I love Gavin DeGraw, but I've never heard that song.
If you want to be with me, you're going to have
to
follow
get with
through.
my friend.
No.
Okay.
Basically, he's saying, like, words are just words unless there's action behind them. And if you want to be with me, you want to have a relationship with me, you're going to need to follow through on what you have to say.
That's so true.
I remember saying that to my first boyfriend. I'm like, don't tell me, show me.
Don't talk about it, be about it.
That's right. And this
And
bitch this bitch in this movie that I was watching, she said that.
Yeah.
She said that. And then she said, well.
No, it's very easy to say the words.
Well.
It's the same thing we've talked about
She's so fucking dumb. I could just.
Hey, it's all a learning experience on the way to Bullshitville. We learned a lot of lessons on the way to Bullshitville. What I was going to say was, I don't remember
because you were reciting the preview for that movie.
Fucking derailed by the train to Bullshitville. I forgot what the fuck we were talking
There's
about.
a train there?
I'm on it.
I think
Choo-choo.
I was driving it.
Oh,
it was like, jump off, girly.
Nope, I lost it again.
Sorry.
Yes, jump off. Then what?
You went choo-choo.
I just really am into the train. It doesn't matter. Who cares what I have to say? Okay. The next thing, inability to follow through with their grandiose promises. That goes hand in hand, I feel. 3, talking incessantly about the future and does not allow themselves to be interrupted. That is like a thing that they are like hyper focused on. Again, it can be difficult when this person also might have neurodivergence because they can just say, this is my hyper focus right now.
Which is why last week, if you heard us say that I don't know if we said this on the Patreon or the normal one because I just watched them both again, but we said that we won't endorse self-diagnosing.
Yes.
And I think it would be irresponsible for us to say that.
No, I don't know anything about myself. I'm not going to fucking I'm not going to give you medical advice. The fuck?
No.
Certainly
but
not.
I think that, what did I just say? What's in these? The fuck? Read the sentence.
Inability. Talks incessantly about the future does not allow you to be interrupted. Then you were saying that. Play it back.
Oh no!
Run it back. I gotta pee. You listen to it back, and then we'll figure it out.
What I was gonna say is we can't endorse self-diagnosing because I think that people can say, oh, I have ADHD, so I hyperfocus, and that's why I keep talking about this. Or I have autism, and that's why I have an inability to do XYZ. That's why I can't stand certain triggers, and now I can't perform, and I can't get this.
It's weaponizing mental health.
Yes, which is why we can't endorse you self-diagnosing, because there are people who will use it to validate their poor behaviors, their toxic, their dangerous behaviors. And I will not be responsible for one person doing that.
Agreed. You're going to identify with this one because I do. The next one is wanting you to identify with and approve only their preferences in view of the future that you could have together.
I saw that movie.
Moving right along. Directed and wrote it.
Starred in it.
The next one, rigid thought patterns about the future. The next one, responding to feedback and criticism with anger or spite, especially if it relates back to their future faking behavior.
I saw this one movie where this couple, the partner was going to start a business venture and requested that the other partner help him do it. And she did. She was like, sure, let me use all of the resources that I have to help you do this. And then when she did, he yelled at her.
Yeah.
And he was like, don't do that. I don't want your help. I don't need your help. And she was like, but you did just ask for my help. And he was like, absolutely the fuck not. Who do you think you are? You think I'm incapable of doing this? And you're like, I never said that.
Those are words your ego is putting in your own head. Your
right.
very, very little sense of self.
It was almost
is
like
yelling into the void because it couldn't possibly be your fault. Because what it sounds like to me in that
movie.
scenario, yeah, of course,
right,
is that person wanted all of the credit, but none of the work.
And I think that's because in the movie, the person didn't actually want to do the thing they said they were going to do.
No, it was a future faking.
Exactly. So they were like, stop helping me acquire and achieve this goal because I don't actually want to do it.
Because that means then that I have to do it for a long time, which is what I said I would do. But I don't want you to know that I didn't mean that I wasn't going to do that.
Yeah. Oh my God. You know what? That was also Bullshitville.
Yeah.
I forgot this is all the same movie.
No, that was a sequel. You didn't know. Speaking of sequels, I'm going to go see Inside Out 2 after our party that we're having on Patreon. Oh, yeah. And if you're not on Patreon, fucking come on, brother. Patreon.com/ladiesandtangents. I just feel like I have to shout it out at some point, and bullying you seems like the funnest way right now. So.
We love that.
And then bringing up the future in a very specific way, at least 3 to 4 times a week. Mm-hmm. In a very specific way.
Well, I think if they don't bring it up that often, then they're worried you're going to actually start having your own thoughts.
Well, that's it. It's all of this facade that's brought up. And it's like, if you start then thinking, well, I don't think this is happening, so maybe I'll make a plan for the future. They're like, no. My plan is happening. Let me tell you it again.
And you need to support my plan, because if not, then you're the reason that the plan didn't come to fruition.
You're the problem.
Mm-hmm. I could have achieved this had you supported me, had you been different.
Faith in me and done it all.
But also don't do it, because I don't actually want to
do it.
Yeah. In that movie, the person was just like, I don't know what the fuck you want me to do.
It can be jarring. And again,
it can be paralyzing.
Yeah, it's why it relates so much to like gaslighting and all of those things, because it can leave you in a very like, I'm not only walking on eggshells, but I shouldn't be walking at all. I feel very like the world is spinning, and if I take a step in the wrong direction, which way is right, I don't know, because the whole world is spinning.
None of the ways.
Hey, one step,
that's a trick question. None of the ways are right.
You're gonna fall either way.
You're
because the world is spinning. You are going to fall the second you take that step.
Matter of fact, be catatonic.
You shouldn't move at all.
Mm-hmm. Check out,
and then you are gonna throw up because you will be dizzy as fuck. You will get the spins.
You will. That was the sequel.
The spins.
Bullshitville. The spins.
Here's how to spot it. I think I already told you that.
Spotting.
Just kidding.
Just kidding. I'm not on my period.
Here's how to handle it. Because as we've said, it can be very emotional dealing with this. They've promised you what you want. And at some point, and it will probably, unfortunately, take several cycles, potentially years, you will realize that it's bullshit. You will realize that none of it is going to come true.
I'm just imagining all the people who are like realizing this is them, and they're like,
oh, fuck,
I'm the mayor of Bullshitsville. I didn't even know, dude.
Yeah. So here's some steps you can take if you do suspect this. Number 1, very important. Ask questions. Like we said, ask for more details, ask for specific plans, ask for timelines. This is a big one that I see online a lot, which is I see a lot of women specifically in relationship with heterosexual men who are 7 years down the line. He's telling her, I'm going to propose. She is waiting on it, and it never comes. Mm-hmm. And then you're like,
did you say 7 because you and Corey were 6?
We were at 6. We were 6 when we got married. He proposed to me at 3.5. Thank you very much. Okay. I just was pregnant at the time. So we had to wait until 6 to actually get married.
Fair.
But yeah, I know people that are like, he's been telling me since we started dating that he's going to propose. We are now in year 7, 8, like a long term, and it's still not happening.
Yep.
There's no plans. And not that you need to rush it, but at a certain point, it's like, what are you waiting for?
Should have got off the pot.
Yeah. And again, there's a difference between when me and Corey got together at first. We were both very set. I wasn't really pushing marriage too hard because we were both kind of set on the fact that we didn't want to get married.
Which was funny because in both of their vows, or like their letters to each other, you both were like, we didn't want to get married, but here we are.
Yep.
Because if it was going to be anyone, it was going to be you.
That's exactly what it was. So like, then I started talking about it a lot when I knew it was going to be him. And he was also like, whoa, hold on. That's jarring for him because here I was saying I never want to get married and now all of a sudden I do, and it was whatever. But I think at that point, when we pulled back and it happened, like there's a difference if you say off the bat, I don't want to get married at all, or I don't want to be married for a very long time. I like where we're at. But saying I want to get engaged right off the bat, I want to marry you right off the bat, and then waiting 10 years is like kind of a little... What's going on?
Yes.
Get updates on any progress towards their promises. Get constant updates. And if they meet you with defensiveness, with anger, with spite, with any kind of like outburst, that
aggression,
is a red fucking flag. Red flag.
Mm-hmm. What I was going to say is, I think we've talked about how there's almost like a normal level of daydreaming. And I think a productive thing to ask when someone is talking about the future is to say, is this something we're planning for, or is this a dream?
Yes.
Because if it's a dream, I'm not going to take it as Bible. I'm not going to take it as the word of the guy who wanted me to kill my first son.
Yes. I need to know what I'm signing up for.
Yes.
Because I'll daydream all day with you. Me and Corey will sit there. I've told everybody. We have the what if we win the lottery daydream?
Yes.
We know that's not a real thing we're probably going to do, but it's fun to talk about.
Preface it with if we win the lottery.
Which is probably never going to happen.
Exactly. So
and we both know that.
And that's because you don't play the lottery.
Right. I fucking pretty much never.
So I feel like if you are... because I don't want people to think they're never allowed to talk about
you
things.
Absolutely can, but there
and you should.
There needs to be a deeper conversation. And also, I want to backtrack on the fact that I just said any amount of aggression or defensiveness can be a red flag. That's not exactly true, because I know sometimes if people would ask me, like if I was writing a book or something, and they'd be like, "What's going on?" and I've not gotten to where I wanted to be, I'm like, I might get a little snippy. So don't take that as 100% either. Just trust your gut with that shit, and
especially if it's something that's happening over and over and over again.
Repetitive, just be very aware of it. Have your eye on it, and again, go into deeper conversation. If they do get defensive, be like, "Hey, do you want to explain why you're getting defensive about that? Mm-hmm. What's going on?"
And if they don't take accountability and use I statements when you ask that
is a red flag.
That's a red flag.
If
they're like, well, the reason I got angry is because
you won't leave me alone. You keep bugging me. You. That is not good. That's not good. Don't accept excuses or allow them to distort reality. Point out instances when they're lying if you catch them lying.
I feel like I'm in therapy again.
I know. Thank you. You're welcome. Try discussing your concerns with the future faker. And if all of that fails,
that's such a funny thing.
The future faker.
Future faker. You fucking faker.
You fudging future faker. And if all that fails, unfortunately, the last step is to consider ending the relationship. And genuinely, if you aren't at the point where you feel like safe or at a spot where you can, the very least you can do is with those daydreams they're giving you, daydream your own life separate from them. Mm-hmm. Keep this little pocket in the back of your mind of what if, and just have it tucked back there. Well, you don't have to have a for sure plan, but it's not a bad idea to have a plan B. And that's what I've always said.
You can go to Drug Mart or your local pharmacy and get that.
True, in some places.
What I was going to say is in the movie that I watched, the lead, she made sure to build a life where, regardless of what the future was in her partner's mind, she was able to provide for herself. And so regardless of whether or not his words came true, she made hers come true.
Exactly.
And she was able to get out when she needed to get out.
There
And
you
you
go.
know what? That's why Bullshitville is up for an Oscar this year, everybody. Let's give Bullshitville a round of applause.
Incredible.
Incredible.
And so basically the bottom line is it's not impossible for someone who does do future faking to change, but it would take a great deal of self-awareness and a proactive measures like going to therapy in order to do so. So in that case, if they say they're going to put in the work, fucking make sure they put in the work. Do not ease up on that. Don't give them any amount of like, well, I didn't like that therapist, so I just quit going. Find another therapist. Find another way. There is always something, or at the very fucking least, I know therapy's hard to come by. I just realized that I smacked my grilled cheese.
I've been staring at your grilled cheese necklace, and it's been the reason I haven't cried anymore since the first time.
I'm going to tell you all about that in just a minute. But what I'm going to end that with is, at the very least, make sure they take accountability. Let me tell you about this grilled cheese necklace. So when we went to our show in Minneapolis, and I hope that you're listening, whoever you are, you sweet, sweet, sweet soul. I cannot remember your name. I met so many people in such a short amount of time. However,
if I meet one person, I won't remember their name, let alone so many.
This person came up to me and was wearing a grilled cheese. It literally just says grilled cheese on it, but it looks like a beautiful necklace. And then you read it and you're like, that says grilled cheese. And I was like, that necklace is fucking awesome. I love it. And they were like, take it. And I'm like, what? And they're like, dead serious. It would be an honor. Take this necklace. And I was like, I'll wear it every day. And then I forgot about it because it was in my purse after that. I put it right in my purse because I didn't want to lose it when we were packing. And I went to look for earrings to put on. And I was like, the grilled cheese necklace. So I am wearing it. This is my promise to you. I'll never take it off. And for everyone that's listening today, if you're feeling some type of way, I just want you to know genuinely grilled cheese.
I'm wearing a necklace that says grilled cheese.
Nothing is that serious except that
grilled cheese.
Don't kill your kids for people who say that you need to if you love them.
That's true.
That's something I back. I stand by that 100%.
I endorse that. I endorse that for sure. Thank you for telling everyone about that. I think that's...
I did my best.
No, you did great.
We'll link the articles if you want to read more or look at more. I did also watch some YouTube videos. But again, I didn't want to... None of it was like super backed. It was a lot of people that I couldn't...
Yeah.
I don't like putting their stuff out if I don't 100% know what their
where
credentials are. So...
No, I feel that.
Just know, take this for what it was, and I hope you took something from it.
Who I was meant to be. And if you give a damn, follow us on Patreon.
Please.
Patreon.com/ladiesandtangents.
And also, if you give a damn, you should come see us on tour. We're going on tour again.
Take us, baby.
Don't leave us.
Don't leave. Just take us. Only taking. No leaving. Bullshitsville 2024.
Yeah. And we're going to go to Indianapolis. And we're going to go to Philadelphia. All of a sudden, I've forgotten all of the
I know. Oh, speaking of that, Denver. I'm so fucking sorry.
So, dude,
I'm pretty sure
sorry.
I'm the person who said it.
I thought it was me at first, and then they said it was Jared. I was like, cool. Wasn't me.
I know. I'm really sorry.
But we also both didn't know at the same time that Denver was supposed to be on our list. We are still waiting for confirmation, and they didn't want us to hold up announcing all the other shows. So just keep an eye out.
Yeah,
it could happen.
So sorry, Denver. I'm so fucking sorry. But just know that you're right here.
You are.
You're right here. Hey, we're not future faking you.
Look at me.
We past faked you a little bit, but like that was not intentional at all.
That was not intentional. That was us being big dumb bitches.
Yeah, and that's what we be. All right. Hey, thanks for hanging out, everybody. We love you so much. And we will see you next week.
All right.
We're out.
Goodbye.